Hi, I'm certified life coach DeJuan J of the High Vibrations Only platform. What you're about to watch is an open coaching session that was actually filmed on TikTok. I pray that the information in the video that you're about to watch will inform, inspire, and ignite you to become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so that you're abreast of all future content coming from me. I'll see you in there. Let's go. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to those of y'all that are in here. Today, we will be capping off our series, Trust the Transition. We've talked about transitioning weight. We've talked about how we carry around weight that does not belong to us, weight that should be shared, and weight that should belong to someone else. We talked about transitioning the season, how we date, we love, we find friends, we find family inside of the wrong season, and we highlighted how there's sometimes where God's pull for you feels like man's push away, or sometimes your purpose's push feels like man pulling it away. We talked about how walking in vision it's important and it's imperative that you walk in the right season, because if you're in the wrong season, when you start to formulate relationships, sovereign, what's happening when if you're in the wrong season, when you start to formulate relationships, oftentimes the two people miss each other because one person is already at the harvest and the other person's at sowing season. We talk about how we grow at different stages, but we fail to account for the fact that some of us are just different plants. What I found this morning, I found this out this morning. Bamboo. Bamboo is one of those plants that we say that we want to be trees. We say that we want to be deeply rooted. We want to plant roots somewhere. We want to grow. We want to be extensions of branches and things like that. But what I found this morning was that bamboo grows underground for 3 years. But once it breaks through the ground, oh, okay, DeJuan J, do not turn up today. Uh, once it breaks through the ground, bamboo actually grows or can grow at 4 feet an hour. Yeah, y'all missed it. It can grow at 4 feet an hour, meaning that some of us have been in a season, a down season. Some of us have been in a season where it seems like the life is against you, where it seems like your marriage is against you, where it seems like your family is against you, where it seems as if the people who you've placed in support roles around you are against you. It seems that you can't get ahead on your bills. It seems that the college education is never going to flow. It seems as if nobody believes in your dream. It seems that everybody that you call friend has stabbed you in the back or has something to say about what you have going on. But this is your season to grow those roots, because once those roots are planted and you finally break through, you can grow at an exponential rate. You grow at a rate that's faster than other plants. And not only do you grow, but when you grow in the correct season, because of because of the way that your roots, let's go contributing to the live goal. Of the way that your roots are set up, the way that you were humble and didn't clap back at the subliminal social media post, the way that you were humble and you were obedient at your job and didn't curse your boss out, the way that you were humble and you just gracefully bowed out of that friendship, the way that you were humble in saying that this relationship ain't for me, the way that you were humble and dealing with restructuring your budget, the way that you were humble in terms of going about fixing what was once broken, has planted solid roots. So not only do I grow faster than other plants, but I am stronger than other plants. Why? Because I planted seeds in fertile soil. I planted seeds where they had the best chance to grow. And now it's my season to grow. Now it's my season to grow. And because I'm growing in the right season, I am bigger, taller, stronger, faster than anything that has ever come against me. But we have to plant in the right season. Then we talked about transitioning the style. We talked about transitioning the style, but where too many people are concerned with being fashionable. The difference between style and fashion is fashion is fabric, but style is fruitful. Fashion comes and goes. It ebbs and flows with the tides. It ebbs and flows with people's opinions. It ebbs and flows with what's trending. It ebbs and flows with what's popular at the moment, what people are currently accepting at the moment. And style is timeless. Anybody can rock the same shirt that I'm rocking, but they can't rock it the way that I'm rocking it. Anybody can go get the same pair of sneakers, but they won't put it with the same outfit that I put it with because I have my personality attached. When 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 it's time to walk in vision, when it's time to walk in purpose, when it's time to seek peace, when it's time to seek healing, when it's time to seek the very things that are going to make us happy and living abundantly in life, it's fashion that I'm after because if I was doing it like everybody else, then I'm not being authentic. You have to realize that the people around you, the people with something to say, the people that are going to gossip about you weren't at the meeting. They weren't at the strategy meeting when you were praying. They weren't at the strategy meeting when you were visualizing. They weren't at the strategy meeting when you were crying. They weren't at the strategy meeting when you decided that you needed an escape and that it was time for a change. But because we want to be people pleasers, we fall into fashion. Because we don't want to be a burden, we fall into fashion. Because we don't want anybody to think anything bad about us, we fall into fashion instead of styling it ourselves. A Louis bag is a Louis bag. A Coach bag is a Coach bag. An MK bag is an MK bag. A belt is a belt. Some sneakers are some sneakers. A nose ring is a nose ring. But when I put these sneakers with these jeans, I'm all contributing to the live goal. When I put these sneakers with these jeans and this belt, I style it. I told a story about the thrift store and how I used to give away clothes. My mom would make me give away clothes, and my grandma shopped at the same thrift store that they went to, and I saw friends wearing clothes that I had given to that thrift store. Why? Because I knew they were mine because my brother had a talent for designing clothes and jeans, and he would draw. That's right. What's happening? Um, he had a talent for designing clothes, and these were unique. Let's go with the crown. These were unique. And truth be told, some of the clothes that I gave away, I was tired of, but the way that somebody else put it together made me want it again because they put their own flair on it. Let's go with the live goal. They put their own flair on it. And it made, and this is what happens when we embrace style instead of fashion. When you're stylish, when you're authentically yourself, it's attractive. When you're authentically yourself, it wants people or it draws people to you. And this is how you know that you're walking in purpose and on purpose and for a purpose. Let's be clear right here, right now. There's nobody who has ever, who has ever been successful, reached peace, reached happiness by themselves. And if you know somebody who believes this, bring them. I'd like to have a conversation. It'd be easier if we could do it by ourselves. It'd be easier. Let's go contributing to the live goal. Sovereigns in the comments showing out. My God. Thank you. I appreciate you. It'd be easier if we could do it ourselves. It'd be easier to be fashionable. It'd be easier to just fit in. It'd be easier if I could just set myself apart. But those of us who believe in the Bible know that when we go to church, it's not necessarily to keep all of the God or the Jesus to ourselves. It's to go recharge and then go out and disseminate amongst the world. The same thing is true with your purpose. You were created for a purpose. You were created in a unique style to solve a problem on earth that nobody else could solve. That's how important that you are. That's how important you are. That you're so important that out of the billions of people on the planet, out of the billions of people who have come before you, nobody else has been able to solve this problem. And now it's important for us to just walk in, stylish, authentically ourselves. If 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 LeBron James was put on this planet to solve the same problem that I was created to solve, there was no reason for me to be born. If your role model could solve the problem that you were meant to solve, it will be no reason for you to be born. Mommy said it, what's happening? And and it's important that we recognize that. It's one thing to measure things by what society holds valuable. How big the house is, how fancy the car is, how fast the car drives. It's easy to be able to measure our lives by these things. But the truth of the matter is that you're only as valuable of a person as the value that you add to the planet. People, millions, billions of people look up to Oprah. They take what she says to the bank. Oh, this was in Oprah magazine. It must be good. Martha Stewart, former President Obama. It doesn't matter. People were looking up to these people, but what value did they add to my life? If they said, or if they made the opposite decision, did it take away food from my table? The answer is no. So to me, they're not valuable. So there's no need to fashion my ideology after them. There's no need to fashion my theology after them. There's no need for me to fashion the way that I do things after anybody who cannot add any value to my life. Jackie, there you go. So we have to learn to be stylish and be authentically ourselves. And now here we are today at the conclusion. It is time to transition ownership. It's time to transition ownership because the things that we hold on to, the things that we refuse to clean out, the things that we refuse to clear out of our lives are a result of fear. They're a result of a poverty mindset. They're a result of ego. They're a result of insecurity. If you want to show me that you're a healed person, open up the closet. Open up the closet. I want to see what skeletons are in there that you're holding on to. I want to see what last season fashion that you were holding on to. You want to show me that you've overcome the broken heart. Show me that you can trust again. You want to show me that that you're healed from the disappointment. Show me by being open-minded. You want to show me that you're healed from being walked all over and abused. Well, show me that you have stronger boundaries. We have to transition ownership because everything that we release belongs to God, and everything that we hold on to, we claim ownership of. Everything. In a very practical sense, if you're walking through the supermarket and we're all guilty of this. We're all guilty of this. We'll fill up the cart and we'll walk around. And when it's time for us to go, once we've decided we've spent enough time pushing the cart around the store, we'll stand in one aisle and begin to take things out of the cart. Nah, I don't really want this. So why do we still have it? We have it to prevent someone else from getting it. That'll preach. That'll preach. We're walking around with things in our cart to prevent other people from having it. How much of that is going on in your life today? How much hurt, anger, desperation are you walking around with in your cart? How much disappointment, imposter syndrome, self esteem issues, the way that you view yourself, how much of that is walking around in your cart? Truth of the matter is, carrying around for all that time was just a waste of time because we knew that we didn't want it when we saw it, but just in case we might. I told a story about how people are anointed to pack, right? They'll pack all of these things inside of the suitcase. But when you get to a resort that actually gives you a gift, you don't have room to put the gift in your case. You don't have room to put what was supposed to be given to you freely in the case because you packed the case with so much just in case. Tammy, what's up? Welcome in. Because you packed it with so much just in case. I had a client who was a hoarder, a severe hoarder. And she comes to me and she says, Coach, I need some help. I can't seem to move forward because I have so much stuff going on in my life. So I give her some homework. I give her a couple exercises, and I'm like, hey, I need you to sit down. I need you to journal. I need you to try and get to the source of what it is that you're afraid to let go of. He said, Sovereign said, better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, instead of trusting with faith in God that he will provide. Boom. There it is. There it is. Listen, I got a story to tell y'all on Thursday. I got a story to tell y'all on Thursday. If you're not following Kavu Ministries, please go pick that page up. I got a story to tell y'all on Thursday about, if you notice, when you go, you leave everything. Okay, let me not get into that right now. But I had a client that was a hoarder, and she said, I can't seem to figure out why I can't get ahead in my job. Every time I log into my computer, lucky. Every time I log into my computer, I have over 200 emails. I have, some of it's junk mail, some of it's important stuff, some of it's conversations that I was looped into that had absolutely nothing to do with me. And I just, if I don't get a chance to read it, I put it in this one folder, and the folder said, do not discard. Let me pause right here and talk about that. Because some of us are holding on to things because we didn't know that we had permission to get rid of it. We didn't know that we had permission to get rid of it from since we were a child. We're taught, hey, save this for this. Save this for this. Save this for this. And there's some of those things that I hold on to right now. My cabinet is filled with grocery bags. Right? Hey, so save this for this, save this for this, save this for this. But this is a broken mindset. This is a poverty mindset. This is a mindset that is not trusting that God will provide. This is a mindset of not trusting that you're valuable enough. This is a mindset of not trusting that what you once had, you can get that and then some. This is the mindset of trusting that you'll never experience a good feeling again. This is a mindset of trusting that, or not trusting. So as a result, I hoard everything. We're the same mentally and emotionally. We can't let people go out of our lives because we're not sure that we're ever going to find another person that behaves that way. We're not sure that we're ever going to find another person that can make us feel that way. We're not sure that we're going to find any person that can make us laugh like that. So we're holding on to people out of fear of not being able to reconcile or fear of not being able to find that feeling or an even better one. We're holding on to it. We have to let it go. What is in your do not discard folder? Is it, oh, uh, he and I were so in love at one point in time that I don't want to disrespect what we built. It's done. Well, this is my family. This is my aunt. This is my grandma. This is my cousin. It doesn't matter that they take advantage of me. It doesn't matter that they only use me for what I can do for them. It doesn't matter because this is my family and this is what I'm supposed to. It's done. We're holding on to this because people told us to value these things. We're holding on to these things because we didn't know that we could let them go. We didn't know that they could be discarded. We wanted to fit in so bad, not want to be the bad person so bad, not wanting to be a burden so bad, wanting to be viewed as a good person so bad that we're holding on to things that are literally choking the life out of our purpose, that are literally choking the life out of our vision. They're literally choking the life out of everything that we say that we want in life. And it's like, graceful soul, what's happened? And it's like, God wants to bless you. You're supposed to walk in purpose. You're supposed to have the vision. You're supposed to hold in your hands the very thing that you've been praying for, the very thing that you've been attempting to manifest. You're supposed to hold these things in your hands. But let me ask you, if you're holding on to things that no longer serve you, how can your hands hold what it is that, okay, let me not. Let me not even, I don't even have time to deal with that. If you needed permission, this is it. If if you needed someone to tell you that it's okay, this is it. If your hands are full of things that are not fruitful towards your future, then the future can never be in your hand. If if you are worried about things, or Mika, what's happening? If you are worried about things, you're holding onto the fact that my parents never supported me. You're holding on to the fact that they tried to buy my love instead of be an actual parent. If you're holding on to the fact that you have friends that rather see you turn up, rather see you wilding out, rather see you at your worst than to see you at your best. If you're holding on to people that won't hold you accountable, if you're holding on to people that feed your ego and enable you, it's time to let it go. We have to clear our suitcases and our closets of the just in case. Just in case I need it. What about just in case I miss it? 91% of the things that we worry about happening never happen. And we hold on to it in this do not discard file. On this file that won't allow us to hit delete. And this is why we pick up telephone calls at 11 o'clock at night from people who use and abused us. This is why we continue to give money to ungrateful people. This is why we continue to go around friends that talk about you in the separate group text. This is why we continue to allow Dante and them to continue to use me for my body, but not worry about what's in my heart and head. This is why we continue to go over Keisha's house when, oh, okay, let me not. Do not do this to this people today. We are having a conversation. Let me. So this client, She also hoarded paper, right? And we were on a Zoom call, and I was looking, and she had, I kid you not, I kid you not, had 5 shopping bags. Every kiss begins with K. What's happening? Had 5 shopping bags full of paper. It was mail. Now some of it was unopened, and some of it was opened, and some of it was partially torn, and some of it had that yellow tint to it. You know, when the paper's been in the light too long, and you could tell that it's old. Some of these things were back there, and I'm like, hey, what is that? And she's like, oh, this is mail. This is information. These were catalogs. These were things that I just saved and I put in here because I didn't know if I was going to need it. This lady was, I don't want to, okay. This lady was 53 years old. Okay. She's 53 years old. And she she had papers from like her 20s, papers from her 30s, papers from stores that went out of business. What mail do you have that you're holding on to that's taking up space? What friends do you have that are just taking up space? What family do you have that's just taking up space? What regret, what disappointment, what rejection do you have that's just taking up space? And we're holding it in a bag. These people have moved on with their lives. They've moved on away from the relationship. They've moved on from what once was. The stores have gone out of business. It's no longer serving you, but you're holding on out of nostalgia. You're holding on out of a fear mentality. You're holding on because you're not sure what the future is saying, but you'll never know what the future is saying as long as you're holding on to the past. I want to buy a new TV. I want to buy a new TV, but I don't have space for a bigger TV. Why? Because the bags are taking up the space. We I have to decide what I'm going to do with each paper, and eventually I'll get to it, but right now I don't have the time. Well, might I suggest and submit to you today that, oh my God, you you want the bigger TV, but you say that you don't have the space. In other words, what you're holding on to is blocking space for a bigger vision. My God. You- what you're holding on to is taking space for something that's more useful, more fruitful. What you're holding on to is taking time away from the cleaning. It's taking time away from focusing on writing the book. It's taking time away from focusing on the podcast, from writing the business grant, writing the business plan. It's taking time away. Why? Because the more that I dig into the records, my God, the more that I dig into the records, the more that I dig deeper into things that are no longer serving me, my eye is being taken away from the vision. The more that I dig down, my eye is being taken off of productivity. The more that I dig down, I am leaning more towards depression than I am destiny. Now I have these bags, and this is what some of our hearts actually look like. Our hearts look like these shopping bags that this lady had in her house, and they're full of subliminal posts. They're full of things that people have said. They're full of things that people have done. And because we didn't go back and actually do the transition, because we were afraid to transition, we just bagged them up and put them away neatly. And we kept doing this to the point that we made blocking our healing a habit. Put this in a point. Don't make blocking your healing a habit. We've come to the place where we have all of these neatly packed bags. Well, I'll deal with it later. I don't know if I want to touch that. I feel better. So now I don't have to go back and address this. I've gotten over this. This happened to me when I was 10. I'm 40 years old now. This was 3 decades ago. I'm going to look foolish for bringing this back up until it's time to get a bigger vision, until you need more space in your house, until you need more space in your heart, until you need more space. You have to clear out. How is it? You're praying. You're asking God for a husband. You're asking God for a wife, but you're still holding on to trust issues. You're still holding on to abuse. You're still holding on to jealousy. You're still holding on to insecurity. You're still holding on to imposter syndrome. You want a bigger job. You want more responsibility at your job, but you're still holding on to the first job. You're still holding on to when they told you that you weren't good enough. You want to go back to school, but you're holding on to when somebody told you that you weren't smart enough and that you'd never make it above a certain point. We bag these things up, and now they just sit to the point that we're hoarding hurt. Here, what's happening? We're hoarding hurt, and we should be hoarding healing. We should be open to healing, and this is why a lot of us are frustrated because we're holding on to these things because we mentally can't let go. Staff, what's happening? Because we mentally can't let go. What does that look like? We've talked about it several times. What's in your head has to be believed in your heart, and your hands are going to do the producing. What's in your head will be believed by your heart, and your hands will do the producing. So just like you are a hoarder of hurt, you can be a hoarder of healing. You can be a hoarder of happiness. You can be a hoarder of hope. But we have to transition ownership of those things. We have to take the trash out. But what if I need it? Have you needed it in the last 6 months? Did you wake up with smiles on your faces some of those days? Yeah, yeah. Which tells you that it's not a necessity. What if Jane gets it? Well, why are you comparing yourself to Jane? It's sad that some of us are in relationships with people simply because we don't want other people to have it. It doesn't matter that he punched you in the eye. When he's good, he's good, and he always brings flowers and all of these. It doesn't matter that he's not believing in your dream. It doesn't matter that he's not empowering you. It doesn't matter that you're supposed to be a unit, but because you don't want Keisha down the street to have him, you'd rather keep the chaos in your house. My God. Okay. There are. What sense does that make? Just tell me. What sense does that make? We are we're in a place. We're in a place where our poverty mindset, our wounds, are no longer just dangerous to us. They're dangerous to future generations. There are people that are looking at you as an example. Maybe it's because of a relationship. It could be parent-child. Maybe it could be auntie and niece. Maybe it could be uncle and nephew. Maybe it's grandfather, grandmother, and grandchild. They're looking at you for a model of behavior, but because I have this mindset where I need to hoard all of the hurt, my wounds have become weapons, and as a result, I am teaching toxicity to somebody that I want better for. I'm exemplifying toxicity. And then we cover it up with things like do as I say and not as I do. Trash. This is trash. because your ego won't allow you to let it go, because your faith is lacking, because you don't even believe in the own vision that you wrote down for yourself. This is what holding on to these things will do to you. We haven't done an inventory of friends. We haven't done an inventory of relationship in years. Why? Because when we look around, we fail to address the source of the problem. The source of the problem is actually the fact that we haven't done this. So we just continue to not do it. It's time to transition to ownership. There, there are three questions. And this was a student of Confucius, right? For those of y'all who don't know, Confucius was a philosopher, brilliant. He's quoted all over the place. We've probably said some of the things that he is credited with quoting. But there was this one kid who was young enough to be Confucius's grandson, and Confucius actually gave this person a compliment, and I found it very interesting. The, his student came up and he said, "Hey, how is it that you go about your day to day life? How is it that you ensure that you're not holding on to things that you're supposed to hold on to?" And he said, "I wake up every day and I ask myself three questions. And I'm going to propose those questions to you today. Question number one: have I sinned in my thoughts and actions towards others? Have I sinned in my thoughts and actions towards others?" Question two: have I broken faith in any of my friendships? Have I broken faith in any of my friendships? And number three, have I tried to teach anything to others that I have not fully learned and understood myself? Have I tried to teach anything to other people that I've not fully learned or understood myself? I want y'all to recognize the beauty in the manner in which these questions were asked. Let me be abundantly clear right now and why we have this series. Thanks for trying, Jay. Let me be abundantly clear. And part of the reason why we have this series is because you put your hand on your chest. I, make it personal. Say I. I was created to rule, subdue, and dominate everything that I come in contact with. But there has to be order. The first question: have I sinned again in my thoughts and actions towards others? What happens first? In order to rule, subdue, and dominate, in order to transition this ownership, it must start inward. Did I sin in my thoughts and my actions towards others? The second question that he asked: have I broken faith in any friendships? In other words, I'm going to start in my mind. Then I'm going to reach out and see if I've done anything in my immediate circle. And then I'm going to expand it to the world. And by checking yourself in this order, we can learn in my thoughts and my minds, right? Have I sinned in my thoughts and actions towards others? Well, I did this and I did this and I did this, or I didn't do this and I didn't do that. See, right now, what I'm coming against right now, what I'm coming against right now is the lies that have been told about you. What I'm coming against right now is the gossip that has been told about you. Why? Because I'm introspective and I can own it. I'm courageous enough. Crazy what's happening. I'm courageous enough to own what it is that I said and what I did, but I'm not going to allow myself to be a victim. I'm not going to allow myself to fall victim to some depression, some anxiety about stepping on the toes of other people. I don't need you to go gossip about it because I'm fully aware of what's actually happening. Listen, I'm trying to stay calm, but I feel like something's about to break in here. I can no longer worry about walking on eggshells amongst people that claim to love me. I can't afford to dim myself down I can't afford to weigh myself down with things that do not belong to me for the sake of other people's feelings. I can't continue to allow my boundaries to be violated. I can't allow my boundaries to be violated as a result of making somebody else uncomfortable. If I was created to rule, subdue, and dominate, then I have to begin to take up my space. I have to move over. Let me get some elbow room, and it's not going to be given to you. So now that I'm going to be free because I'm going to transition to things that don't belong to me. So now that I'm going to be free, I'm going to have to get some elbow room. Why? Because when the weight comes off of me, I can spread my arms. When the weight comes off of me, I can begin to get some elbow room. When the weight comes off of me, I can start spinning in circles. I can do exactly what it is that I was created to do because I have the freedom to do it. But this all starts with me getting the weight off of me. Okay, all right. When when I'm introspective, when I know what's going on the inside of me, how do I know this? How do I get there? I get there by habits. I get there by habits. Anybody who's had a conversation with me can tell you that one of my pet peeves in a conversation is apologizing for things that there's no need to apologize for. Why? Because this is a learned response. This is a learned behavior. This came from a result of you holding on. This came as a result of you holding on to some relationship dynamic in which your voice wasn't heard, where your voice didn't seem like it mattered, where your voice and you speaking the truth as you see it. This came as a result of attempting to pacify a greater authority. Did you hear what I just said? If I was put on this planet to rule, subdue, and dominate everything that I come in contact with, I don't have a greater authority. There is nothing or nobody that I'm answering to except for God. In other words, if I'm speaking the truth and I'm being authentically myself, I will not apologize for being authentically myself. If you don't like what I said and you don't bring it to me, if you have a problem and you don't bring it to me, then you have a problem, not me. If you don't like something that I said or I did, and you don't bring it to me, then you have a problem, not me. So why is it that I'm apologizing for being authentic? It's because I'm holding on. I'm hoarding hurt. I'm holding on to hurt. But if I'm expected to be an individual, if I'm expected to treat you like an individual, where is the logic behind apologizing to me when I wasn't there when your voice was canceled? How has this become a habit? Why am I so afraid to take up my space? The truth of the matter is that some of us in this room, under the sound of my voice right now, are afraid to spread our wings because we never had the space to do it before, because we're hoarding hurt, we're hoarding depression, we're hoarding anxiety, we're hoarding fear, we're hoarding a poverty mindset, we're hoarding imposter syndrome, where we don't think that we're actually good enough to get where it is that we're supposed to get or take up the space. We don't think that we deserve the space that we're supposed to take up. But I am here to tell you today that that is a lie. That is a lie. Take up your space. Take up your space. But if you don't transition the ownership of some of the pain, if you don't transition the ownership of some of the hurt, some of the trauma, then I can't approach this thing from a place of triumph. I can't approach it because I've never had it. I can't look at this from the lens of triumph because I've never tried those glasses on before. I don't know how to spread my wings because I've been so cramped in due to trash that I'm choosing to keep in my house. I don't know what my flight range is because I've been stuck in my closet. I don't know how far my business can reach because I'm trying to run a business from my couch. Stop hoarding hurt. Healing is here right now. A different mindset is here right now. Today is your day. Today is your day to have a garage sale. Today is your day for donations. Today is your day to transition ownership. And I have to do it because there's generations that are waiting on me. I'm supposed to be the generational curse breaker. And if that's the case, if I'm going to break generations of financial bondage, if I'm going to break generations of relationship abuse, if I'm going to break generations of being people pleasers, I have to hold this garage sale. I have to begin to put these things inside of the trash bags and put them out to the curb because it does not belong here. I'm holding on to it because I've allowed these items and these incidences to become my identity. And once I adopted it as an identity, this is what I'm known by. The sad thing is that some of us don't feel valuable unless we're acknowledged by our trauma. We don't feel loved if somebody's not asking us what's wrong. We don't feel seen. We don't feel seen if we're not crying about something. We wouldn't know a healthy relationship if God gave it to us. We wouldn't know a healthy relationship if it was planted on our laps. We wouldn't know what it felt like to operate without anxiety. If we woke up tomorrow, it could all go away. We wouldn't know what to do. But today is the day to be different. Today is a day to dare to dream again. Today is the day to start to get rid of the hurt and usher in hope, help, healing, happiness. We have to transition the ownership. When it was time for me to leave college and then the military, when it was time for me to leave, um, in my house, in my parents' house, I should say, I had the sweetest room. It was in the back. Nobody could hear anything that was going on. I could play the music as loud as I wanted to. I could design it the way that I wanted to. It was bigger than the majority of the other rooms inside of the house. But when it was time for me to leave the house, I had to transition ownership of that space to my brother. I had to transition ownership of it. But had I not transitioned the ownership of that small space, I couldn't be in the space that I'm in today. If I didn't learn to let go, y'all not hearing what I'm saying. Y'all not hearing what I'm saying. If I didn't learn to let go of the things that had sentimental value for me, I left the boombox. I left the CD player. I left the 56-inch TV. I mean, I was a kid, right? If I didn't learn to let that go, I couldn't be in here. I would have never made it to California. I would have never had an over 15-year military career. Never been a life coach. Never been a professional. All of the adventures, all of the stories in my life would have never happened had I held on. There you go. Got to move out of Satan. No, actually, it's not even Satan's apartment. It's yours. Get this. Get this. I like this thought. Sovereign said you have to move out of Satan's apartment to move into God's mansion. Mm-mm. Satan doesn't own anything. Doesn't own anything. And here's what happens. Y'all, yeah, listen, y'all are trying to send me up. Wow, what's happening? Y'all are trying to send me up, and I'm trying to have a conversation with you today. Um, Here's what happens in Genesis 3. After the fall of man, what happened was it allowed the devil to recreate his position, right? Remember that when the serpent was talking to Eve, he didn't force her to do anything. He didn't own the tree in the garden. He just happened to be there. Okay, I don't have time to bother that. I, it's a mindset. It's a mindset. And here's what happens when it comes down to us. Here's what happens when it comes down to us. We don't transition ownership for that very reason. Actually, it's for that very reason. Some of us are have experienced trauma to the point that we want to connect to the first thing. We want to connect to the first thing that talks to us. We want to connect to the first idea, the first relationship, the first friendship, the first family, the first TikTok team, the first therapist, the first coach. We want to connect. We have to realize that in Genesis chapter 3, what happened was the serpent was the first thing that talked to Eve that wasn't Adam. I do not. Oh, okay. It was the first thing to talk to her that wasn't Adam. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that some of us, we get into a place where things are too good. See, here's this imposter syndrome that creeps up. What happens is things are going too well on the job. Let me self sabotage. Things are going too well in my marriage. Let me self sabotage. I don't have any beef with my circle of friends currently. Let me start something. Because if we don't cry together, then they don't love me. If my husband ain't going upside my face every Saturday night after he has too many tequila shots, then it's not love. If we don't argue, then he's not invested. This is what happens when we come to a place, right? And this could just be, again, the process. Part of the process is purification. Part of the process is purification. There's some refinement that has to happen. And during this refinement, we actually give the devil too much credit. We actually give the devil too much. There is nothing. See, and what happens is because there was no accountability in the time of our grandparents. There was no accountability. It wasn't a big buzzword at that point in time. So what actually happened was we began to give the devil credit for our bad behavior because we didn't want to take accountability and stand up for it. So now here we are. And this is what I'm saying. Empress empowerment contributing to the live goal. And this is exactly what I'm saying. This is what happens. The devil made me do it. No, 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 no. You did it maybe under the influence of the devil, but he didn't make you do anything. We misinterpret things like that in the Bible all the time, where it says that Satan came to steal, kill, and destroy, but he's only successful if we allow it to happen. It says that the devil comes as a wolf in sheep's clothing. In other words, he can't even pretend the right way. But what does happen is that we punish ourselves and we don't forgive ourselves and we don't transition some of this guilt. We don't transition some of this regret. We don't transition some of this trauma. So what happens is the first thing that comes along that looks like the real thing we attach ourselves to. And the next thing you know, I've got an 18-year responsibility and a soul tie to do. Do not do this to these people, DeJuan J. We the co-pilots in the building. We we're so broken that we're holding on to things just in case we need to patch holes. We're holding on to things just in case the roof leaks again. And and what happens is that we become so comfortable with our stuff. Everybody, please pick up my co-pilot in the building. Cat just sliding through. What's happening? What happens is we become so attached to stuff that we never sit down and analyze it next to the purpose, next to what it is that we're supposed to be doing, next to the vision, next to the plan, next to the will of God, next to our fasting, next to our prayer. Anybody here that's ever heard me pray publicly, there's one thing that I always include. I say, let our will be married to yours. And the only thing that that's saying is that let me get myself out of the way. Let me get the things that I hold valuable out of the way. Let me get the trauma out of the way. Let me get the depression out of the way. Let me get the anxiety out of the way. Let me get the things that I thought that I needed out of the way so that the things that I actually need come to me. So that the things that that are fruitful actually come forth. So that the friends that'll hold me accountable, the friends that are fruitful actually come forth. The relationships that are necessary actually come forth. But if I'm holding on, what you actually don't realize is that if you're sitting at your kitchen table and you're throwing a party, we'll call it a vision party. We'll call it a vision board party where I actually recommend these, where y'all are gonna come together, right? Y'all gonna make a pact right here, right? Everybody's gonna put a vision board up there. You guys are gonna write out the plans and everything. Have a glass of wine or two, break out the grapes and the cheese and the summer sausage, right? Make a thing of it, right? But if you invite the wrong person to the party, the wrong person that can't get involved or on board with your vision, they're actually taking a seat away. They're taking up space away from somebody that is supposed to, somebody that's actually knocking on the door, somebody that's ringing the doorbell, that's been attempting to be a part of what it is that you have going on for so many years, for so many months, but you write them off as lame. You write them off as somebody that's not interested. You write it off as somebody who can't really add anything because you're looking through it with superficial eyes. You're looking through it from a lens of trauma and not triumph. It's time to transition the ownership of the lenses. I no longer need these trauma glasses. I don't need these lenses anymore because they're no longer serving my purpose. And if I continue to look at life, if I continue to look at my vision, if I continue to look at my purpose, if I continue to look at God through the lenses of trauma, I'm going to forever be depressed. I'm going to forever have anxiety. I'm going to forever have things that are living below my purpose and my privilege. If you go to an optometrist to check your vision, oh my God. When you go to an optometrist and they check your vision, the eye test is actually two instructions. The eye test is actually two instructions. There's 5 lines that they tell you to look at, right? You got the E at the top, you got some letters. There's 5 lines. When the optometrist tells you to read what's on line 3, they're also telling you to ignore 1, 2, 4, and 5. When the optometrist tells you to focus on line 3, they're telling you to ignore all the other lines. But if we don't transition the ownership of the lenses that we're looking out of, we don't get the proper vision. We don't get the proper prescription. We don't get the proper healing. We don't get the proper diagnosis. Doc Cass is in the building. So what I'm saying to you is our minds and our hearts are the same way. Our minds and our hearts are the same way. We when we're taking ownership, it's up to you to do what you please. It's time to transition to ownership, but in order to transition it, you must first own it. Now, as I sip from my Starbucks cup, this is my cup. Donna, what's up? Welcome in. This is my cup. I can do with this cup what I please. And here is what we have to do mentally and emotionally. That thing that happened to you when you were 16 years old, you own it now. But because you own it, you can do with it what you please. In other words, once it's no longer serving me, I can do what I want. Let's go with the handies. I can do with it what I please, including free myself from it. And it's time. It's time to transition the ownership. Listen, this is gonna have to be a part 2. There's gonna have to be a 2-parter. I feel it now. There's too much left right here. I don't even know how we got over here. But this is gonna have to be a part 2. But so what happens? What happens? There's some things that we have to let go of. There's some things that we have to let go of. And when we let go of these things, we have to. I think I was talking to some people yesterday when I said, "Hey, we have the faith the size of a mustard seed, and it tells you to tell the mountain to move, and it'll move." But we forget the second part. We forget casting it in the sea. In other words, I don't want to see this enemy again. I don't want to see this problem again. I don't want to deal with this again. In other words, this trauma happened to me. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to take some accountability for my portion in what happened. But now that I've owned my part, the rest does not belong to me. But because I want to tie my cape on and be Mr. and Mrs. Noble, because I want to be a people pleaser, because I value the relationship over my vision, my God, because I value the relationship over my own vision, I'm putting my purpose in prison. Because I'd rather be friends with this person than to fortify my future. Hey, you're amazing. But because I'd rather be fashionable than to live in my own style, I own it all. And because of this, I've made hoarding, hurt, a habit. Here's some things that you got to let go of. Here's some things that we have to let go of. Uh, yeah, it's going to be a part 2. Uh, the first thing on our list that we have to let go of is comparing yourself to others. We have to stop comparing ourselves to others because no two measuring sticks are the same. What I call a success, you don't call a success. What I call happiness, you don't call happiness. What I call peace, you don't call peace. We have to stop comparing ourselves. But what happens? Yeah, yeah, Kirby. There has to be a part 2. Oh, I was trying to end today so that I can. This is why I try to stay calm. I don't even know how we got off on this other thing. But we have to stop comparing ourselves to others. Someone once said a movie production and a mediocre movie production are casting roles, but the person for the major role produces less value. And the person who is in the production of less value is producing more value. But here's the thing: without the actors, neither movie gets made. This is actually the point that I'm making, right? The person who acts in the Hollywood blockbuster and the person who acts in the straight to DVD film, they're probably both part of the Screen Actors Guild. In other words, they're both called actors. The doctor that gets the lowest GPA in medical school is still called doctor. So why is it that I'm comparing? Why am I comparing? I have to stop comparing myself to others because if I'm comparing myself to other people, I lose sight of what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. Right? I remember when I first started lifting weights, I went to the gym and there was this dude, I never forget his name. His name's Mike Young. Mike Young. Mike, if I see you, I finally caught you. I finally got you. Mike Young was probably the biggest dude in the gym, right? This dude was huge. And I went in there and I would go into the gym and I would set PRs right in the gym, right for me, right. I started lifting. I was 186 pounds. So when I hit 215, I was like, yeah, let's go. But I was looking at Mike, and Mike was benching 315. When I compare myself to others, what's a record for me doesn't seem good enough. Listen to what I'm trying to tell you. I have to stop comparing, right? When I hit 315, Mike was at 405. And because I wasn't in my own lane, I couldn't appreciate the growth that I had made. I couldn't appreciate the strength that I had gained. I couldn't appreciate the discipline that I had learned. I couldn't appreciate the dedication that developed in me as a result of me trying to do this. And when we compare ourselves to others, we put this in a point, and I got to get out of here. Put this in a point, and I got to go. Comparing myself to others cancels the credit that I get towards my calling. Comparing myself to others cancels the credit towards my calling. What does that mean? It simply means that if I'm too busy looking at what somebody else is doing, it doesn't matter if we have the same niche. It doesn't matter if we have the same, it does not matter. What happens is that if I'm constantly looking at what somebody else is doing, then that means that I can't appreciate the small victories that I've overcome. It means that everything that I've gone through to make it to the place that I am today was for nothing. It was in vain. Jen, I said, comparing myself to others cancels the credit towards my calling. In other words, when I started this journey, I had a goal, I had a vision, I had a plan, I had purpose. And I found somebody with some skills or something that I'd like to emulate, right? So maybe some dedication, maybe some discipline, because comparing yourself to others versus being inspired by others are two completely different things. We'll get into this next week. But every time that I set a new record, every time I achieve a milestone, I discredit myself because it's not what they were doing. Mike Young weighed 260 pounds. I weighed 186 pounds. Looking at this logically, right? I shouldn't have been able to lift what he lifted, but I couldn't see that. I couldn't think about it logically. Why? Because I was holding on to imposter syndrome. I was holding on to the fact that it wasn't that. So as a result of that, all of the head hurters, all of the obstacles, all of the doors that were closed in my face, all of the lessons that I should have been learning, everything that I could have been putting into my toolbox couldn't get the proper credit. It was like I went through them for nothing because to me, I wasn't there when there is not where I was meant to be in the first place. I was trying to get there, and God was saying, stay here. How are they contributing to the live goal? What you want something practical? There, there is there. Here is here. But here is one letter short of there. I got to drop this and then I got to go. I got to go. Here is one letter short of there. So how do I go from here to there? I don't focus on the missing letter. I don't focus on the missing letter because even though I don't have the T, I don't have the trauma, I don't have the triumph that this other person might have, despite that I'm missing one letter between here and there, I am still a complete word. My God, I am still a complete word. I can stand by my. Do you hear what I just said? We're so busy comparing ourselves to others that we're always looking at there, forgetting that here is also a word. And when you put the T in front of here, you get there. But the T stands for trauma. The T stands for trials. The T stands for traveling. The T stands for tribulation. The T stands for the thoughts and exegesis and assignment of God. If I put T in front of here, eventually I'll get there. But I can't discredit the fact that I'm still a complete word right here, right now. So oh no, that preaches. It's not even fair what we do to ourselves. We put ourselves in impossible situations because we want here to become there, but we don't want to add the T. We discredit the T. We discredit the trauma. We discredit the trials. We discredit the tribulations. We discredit the thoughts of God. We discredit trouble. So we don't even want to add the T that it takes to turn here into there. My God. Okay. All right. Let me just, there'll be a part two. There will be a part two. I was trying to get into this DM series next week, but it looks like we'll be right back here because I was trying to get there. Questions, comments, and concerns, put them in the chat.